Patterns typically entail repeated activity, a task or action that is regularly performed, frequently without much thinking. A lot of daily conduct is fairly automatic. It is something that is done so frequently that it feels natural and has no inherent negative consequences. Or perhaps we have a behavior that we don't want to change because it comes with a reward. So today we will discuss about behavioral patterns. Toxic behavioral patterns are frequently automatic, don't always appear to be detrimental by nature, and are more likely to persist due to the associated reward. Even though some patterns have created issues in the past and currently contribute to issues at home, at work, or elsewhere, they may be challenging to identify and alter. And before deciding how to stop and change them, it's important to be able to identify dangerous behavioral patterns. If you are still watching, subscribe to our channel and like this video. Let's continue. Toxic behavioral patterns are frequently automatic, don't always appear to be detrimental by nature, and are more likely to persist due to the associated reward. Even when we are aware of our poisonous conduct, we are hesitant to alter it. Even though we may wish to change, we continue to be afraid to. A seemingly insurmountable challenge may be getting through worries of the unknown. It doesn't help much to allay such worry to hear that change is positive and should be welcomed from others. In actuality, conquering fear is a highly individual process. How can you tell when a particular personal action fits into a larger behavioral pattern? This entails objectivity, taking a step back, and viewing the behavior from the perspective of others. Another type of detachment is the one that develops through time. It is simpler to understand where and how such actions fell into a poisonous pattern when it has been months or years since the most recent behavioral episode. While maintaining detachment can be challenging, there are simpler techniques to be able to recognize patterns. Is it a pattern or a habit? A few illustrations could be useful. A habit is something you do every day without thinking about it. This can be drinking a hot cup of coffee just after waking up or getting a latte for lunch or a break. Past habits, such as a drug or alcohol habit that progressed to substance misuse and perhaps addiction or alcohol use disorder, are something you are undoubtedly quite aware of. It wasn't an infrequent occurrence. Your life was consumed by the habit, which was constant to the point where you believed you couldn't survive without it. You can also be on the verge of becoming an alcoholic and want to stop that harmful habit. For instance, a person's habit of utilizing necessitated a specific pattern of behavior when they needed to look for their preferred drug to use again after coming down from an alcohol or drug-induced high. After that, the pattern was hardwired. Because there was no other method to satiate their constant need and need for usage, the person did it out of necessity. In conclusion, a pattern is a behavior that we repeatedly engage in and don't necessarily think about. Understanding how to change patterns that have unfavorable effects and adopt those that promote well-being is crucial when it comes to pattern recognition. Realizing that something you believe to be helpful for you is actually harmful may come as a shock. In this acknowledgement, there are both good news and negative news. On the one hand, you are aware that what you first believed to be good may have been a lie you told yourself. Perhaps you embraced the practice in the hopes of experiencing the same level of success because you believed it would be beneficial for you because it was beneficial for someone else. It's never a good idea to cling to a notion blindly. To be able to decide whether a pattern of behavior is appropriate for you, considerable consideration must come before and thorough analysis must come after. You might want to think about compiling a list of the current behaviors that represent a pattern. Taking notes that can be used as a reference at a later time is helpful. Create 2 distinct pages, one for appropriate and one for inappropriate patterns of behavior. You might also just make a list of the behaviors and examine whether or not there are any recurring themes. After that, a positive or negative value should be assigned to each one of them. This value does not indicate whether or not you approve of the behavior being rated. You like getting stoned, is that correct? That did not signify, however, that it was a positive pattern of conduct. In this context, positive or negative value refers to whether anything adds to or takes away from the quality of your life. One example of a pattern of toxic conduct is when an individual takes on too much at their place of employment. When you find yourself constantly taking on new tasks, asking for more responsibility at work, and neglecting other aspects of your life, this is a red flag that should signal trouble is on the horizon. While there is certainly nothing wrong with wanting to take care of your family and your responsibilities, when you find yourself doing so on a consistent basis, this is a sign that you are headed for trouble. Perhaps you haven't always been a workaholic, but this pattern of behavior is indicative of workaholic tendencies, so it's possible that you could become one in the future. When all of your time is taken up by your job and the various responsibilities that come with it, there is very little time left over for anything else. As a direct consequence of this, levels of stress and tension rise, and levels of productivity fall. When you put in more effort and work for longer, you start to feel less satisfaction. What happens if you encounter resistance that prevents you from making any progress? It's possible that certain unhealthy patterns of behavior won't be able to be corrected overnight. Even if becoming aware of something that needs modification is an essential step, actually putting in the effort to make sure the modification takes place is a much further step. Exercise patience. You must be willing to put in the effort, and you must not allow yourself to become disheartened or frustrated when things do not quickly improve. Life has a way of becoming muddled, confusing, and difficult to comprehend. Having friends you can rely on in times of need is only one of the many advantages that comes with establishing a solid support network. It is also essential to have an understanding of the resistance that exists within oneself to change. After making such significant adjustments, it is also extremely beneficial to take the time to acknowledge and appreciate even the most inconsequential victories. Recognize that not every shift will be one that shakes the foundation of the world. It is not necessary for it to be in order for it to be considered a success. When something is essential to you, it should also be vital to your health. Recognize the accomplishments you've accomplished. First, you should give yourself some credit for what you've already accomplished, and then you should go on to the next item on the list and continue working. Success begets more and more success. When you have momentum, it is much simpler to continue moving forward. The limit for today appears to have been surpassed. Please share your favorite section in the comments. See you later.